Here at the Kate Daly Show, just a reminder that we don't have to go to war just because BlackRock and Raytheon say so. The show starts now.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with President Erdogan of Turkey, and we've been friends for a long time, actually, even for 4 years when I was in exile, unfairly, as it turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good way to find out, test of friendship. But
welcome back. We continue to follow this breaking news out of Washington, D.C. today. Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. Cheney served as vice president alongside former President George W. Bush, but his political career stretched decades, making him one of the most recognizable and influential figures in politics. The Cheney family released a statement earlier this morning saying, quote, "The former vice president died from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease." It went on to say, "We are grateful beyond measure for all Dick Cheney did for our country, and we are blessed beyond measure to have loved and been loved by this noble giant of a man."
That was quite a statement coming from one of the deep state guys, am I right? Wow. Whew, they sure glossed over his bio. Dick Cheney, huh? Well, welcome back. And I'm back today. So glad to be with you again. And so appreciate your support and thank you for all the kind messages I got. So sweet. And really wanted to just say thank you for that. I will take calls today. It's been a lot of a very emotional last week. So this whole last week. So I thank you for that. And it's never easy, right? Always tough. So, all right. Well, okay. Where do we even start today? Where do you want to start today? There's so much. I don't. All right. Well, I'm going to do today's show and tomorrow's show, and just letting you guys know. And then I've got a funeral for the rest of the week. So I will take calls 435-680-2503. Or I should say 2503. And let's start with Dick Cheney, since that was the clip coming in. Oh, Dick Cheney. So I want to get your thoughts on what you think about Dick Cheney. And so many, I would say, Republicans that our Republican base, for some reason, puts him on a pedestal. And it's really, really, really hard to understand for sure. I'll get to election day in just a second, because this is election day for everybody. I'm getting texts about elections. I'll deal with that in just a moment. But I just wanted to deal with Dick Cheney for just a second here. He is part of the deep state and always has been. Actually, his father was in the government as well, and that's usually the case. It's usually like somebody in their immediate family or somebody in their family, because they kind of keep it in the club. If you haven't noticed this yet, so his father was a soil conservation agent for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and so he comes along and he went to Yale. Now, Yale is an interesting thing, because Yale produces more of our deep state soldiers. I'll say it that way: deep state soldiers than most people realize. So Yale, for some reason, usually when I see that in the bio, it's like, interesting. So he did Yale University, and then he began his political career as an intern for Congressman William Steger. So worked his way into the White House. Now, that's usually, if you'll notice, if you'll go back in the bios, and I have in many bios, not all, but I have noticed this strange correlation of working as an intern, because that's how they kind of figure out how far you're willing to go and what you're willing to do. I would imagine. Okay. So they start out as an intern, and then they go into bigger and bigger roles within the deep state. Now, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and represented Wyoming, of course. And then he became the House Minority Whip. So going up the food chain, because he's willing to do a lot of horrifying things, actually, when you really look at the Bushes and the Cheneys and all of these people that have been sort of hoisted into the Republican Party, which is, I'm a Republican, but I'm an awake Republican. Okay. I'm not, I'm actually a constitutionalist. I really love the Constitution. Uh, so the parties defy the Constitution consistently. So I don't know how you could be both, but if you were going to look at my voting, I would say Republican, right? Because I'm conservative. But this is so interesting to watch how people react to Cheney, because just like that news clip coming in, there's this overall, we have to paint him as a genius, as the person who has served America. How has he served America? Oh, well, he served the deep state for sure, and overall creep. So I was like, I don't know how conservatives can wrap their brains around truly admiring this guy. I think he's loathsome, and because out of all the research I've done, I mean, his name, Rumsfeld, all these characters keep cropping up as far as bringing us a lot of the stuff that we hate. So it's really hard when I see conservatives go, "Oh, Dick Cheney died, so sad." I'm like, "So sad? Give me a break. So sad." My gosh, good riddance. So he was working in the White House during Nixon and Ford administrations, and he served as the White House chief of staff under Ford from 75 to 77, and then he was elected. And then, of course, he oversaw Operation Just Cause in '89 and Operation Desert Storm in 1991, and then while he was on optics leave, because you can't be a Republican and then work with Clinton, right? Even though you are. So because they're all a tribe. So this is when he became chairman and CEO of Halliburton. And of course, Genie Oil, 1995 to 2000, and all of these deep state. When you think Blackwater, you kind of think of him. Also, the PNAC agreement, the one that came out before 9/11 and said that we need a new Pearl Harbor incident that would bring us into war in the Middle East over the next several decades. So that was that PNAC agreement, and there's lots of names on it, but it was literally founded in 1997 by Dick Cheney and Paul Wolfowitz. That's why I say, optics wise, he couldn't be under Clinton, but he was very much there and designing all of this to happen. So he was the architect of the Iraq War. Isn't it interesting how he just became the architect of war? What do you guys think? So, yeah, it's gross. It's disgusting. So also, Dick Cheney, as Ford's chief of staff in 75, literally edited the Rockefeller Commission report on CIA abuses. And his handwritten changes, I guess, were deleted sections of the assassination plots, letting CIA officers report misconduct, all to bury accountability before, it would see the light of day. So I just wanted to kind of give you this too, because this was interesting. This is some of the handwritten notes that he spelled out. So, just hiding info. So it's gross, it's disgusting, but what do we do? What do we do about this? Because on our Republican side, see, all of the senators, the House, they're all going to do their 5 minutes of paying respect to this monster and this gross, just grotesque monster. And I don't know, how do you address that? I would love to hear from you. How do you address that? That's insane. So he has this very long career of being in the deep state and just all kinds of, he was in relation to Blackwater, in relation to government contracts. You name it, he's at the root of so much that has happened. And like I said, they're always one little tribe, on the backside of things that's never mentioned. So he dies, and he's 84. And also the exact same woman who evacuated Vice President Dick Cheney on 9/11 was promoted. She became the Secret Service director who let the shooter almost assassinate Donald Trump on July 13th. Now, you guys know how I feel about that assassination because there are too many questions. And at the time, I was like, this doesn't look real. So there's that. That's a whole nother show. But I just wanted to say that people were going, that's interesting that she's so connected. So here is this clip of the news talking about that situation and her. Here we go.
Your veteran was on the team that evacuated. She would know. The 28-year veteran was on the team that evacuated Vice President Dick Cheney on 9/11, and she served on then Vice President Biden's protective detail. He named her director in mid-2022. Amid a swirl of controversy over the agency deleting nearly all of its text messages from January 6th. The agency says that was due to a data migration.
System migrations happen, but I think for a lot of Americans, it just doesn't pass the smell test, given the timing and the volume of messages deleted.
Well, it's unfortunate that would be the assumption that people would make. Our integrity is everything.
The assumption?
There's nothing nefarious attached to that.
Their integrity
It's an assumption, all right. Yeah, it's an assumption. So, it just happened that she evacuated Cheney on 9/11, and she's the one that became the Secret Service director, and yada yada yada. And they're all so there are no words. There are no words for this group. And when you talk about deep state soldiers, I think he's a deep state soldier. I think he could also be some of the architect of some things or help things transpire. But I think the deep state's a little deeper than Dick Cheney, but Dick Cheney is definitely one of their biggest soldiers. So he dies and the news is going crazy trying to pay homage to him, which makes me want to throw up. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And I just had to because ew, gross. And if you go to his Wikipedia page and all the information on him, I mean, his bio just reeks because they never say how he first got the initial job of working in the internship, right? And that's kind of how it works. Like you'll see sometimes when things are just so not logical, you'll see that all of a sudden he just got an opportunity to show his stuff and to gain trust so that he could be the architect of some of these things. And so you'll see this leap that's never quite explained. It's just he got appointed and at a young age. So then you're probably wondering, well, that's kind of strange. I mean, how do people get into these positions, you know? So yeah, it's handpicked. Okay. Yep. And how does it all work? Well, you just go to when you start to peruse their bios, it is fascinating, the stuff that comes out, and you kind of look for the holes, look for the things that don't make sense, that aren't logical, that you as a 20-year-old would never be handpicked for something like that. But Dick Cheney was, and he was on a fast track. So, positioned well. And so these people are totally groomed for these positions. And I've noticed it a lot. It's kind of like looking at Hollywood and saying it's really strange how their childhoods they were raised by another relative, and you don't remember going to school with this person because their story is so messed up. And then all of a sudden you find a lot of the Hollywood that spent time in the military, but not in the regular military, in the special services military branch. So for actors, you're just like, this is a little strange, like back in the 40s and 50s. So you're like, it just doesn't make sense that you would have so many. It doesn't sound logical. So this has been kind of an interesting thing to watch for sure. And yes, I think that, I'm getting this comment, I'm not sad at all. The world is a better place. But, oh, of course, me too. And totally ran 9/11. I agree with you. And so you'll hear the leftists say this too, and they're not wrong. They pick out kind of the wrong things. I mean, they pick out the right things. It's just that they don't always tell the full story on why they're upset about him. But of course, this guy is just grotesque human. And I don't know how else to say it, because everything he touched, including, designing the PNAC agreement, the project for a new American century, outlining what the Department of Defense was going to look like, the money being put in, the decades of war that they had planned, and whoop, 9/11 happened. So when I think of 9/11 and I get mad at, the death and the people that fell from those towers and that died in those towers, I'm thinking about these guys. And so when you're a Republican, it's really difficult to articulate that and to put that out there, because other Republicans go, "Oh, you're a traitor. How do you say these things?" And I'm like, how do you not? How do you not? Like the Bush family, they're so corrupt that how do you not spell that out for people? I don't. Oh my gosh, they're just as bad as the Obamas and the Clintons. There's a reason that these people take center stage, and it just gets sickening to have to endure what people won't say out loud. So this conservative constitutionalist is aghast at the life that he led, and then we're going to pay tribute to him. You just watch, an airport will be named after him for sure. Something else will be big, will be named after him, right? Because why? Because he did the bidding of the deep state. So, yeah, gross. Okay, so elections. I just wanted to say this: like today is like an election day for a lot of people. It is for my county, in Utah, and they're fixed. They're fixed. I don't know how else to say. They're fixed. So until we fix that, I don't even know what to think about it anymore. It's difficult for me because I know it's fixed, and I know they control it through the Office of the Internet under the emergency status since 2004. Before that, they had a lot of other ways to control it, but then it became absolute in 2004. So when you're voting, even at a local level, the party will dictate what candidate wins. And it's just so gross to me. And I am so sorry to say that, because I know it bursts a bubble for so many people, and they want it to work, and they want to believe that it's normal, and that we do have a say. And all I can say is I understand why people vote, because it's something that you can do, and we have to do all that we can do. And then the blame of the fixing of the elections can rest on the shoulders of those who have done that and who do it. But I mean, it's hard because we want to think it's one thing, but it's clearly another. So at some point, we must realize that, right? Let me take a quick caller. All right. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Kate.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm sure tracking with you on the Bush crime family and
yeah.
Cheney. Yeah. Remember, he shot that lawyer.
Oh my
Remember
gosh.
that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He shot a lawyer and totally got away with it. Sure,
Yep.
even if it was an accident, the man was drunk.
Yeah.
Anybody else would have gone to jail for a couple of years. What do you think?
Yeah. You're right.
Yep.
You're right.
Yeah,
No,
he shot a man. He shot a man. He got to
did.
live out his life. The
You're
dirty
right.
puke.
You're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
He's a horrible individual, and his daughter's even worse.
Oh, I know.
But
Yeah.
it may be.
Yeah.
It goes on to him because he trained her that way.
Yeah.
He's an utter evil man.
Creepy family.
Is what he was.
I'm
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
100%.
Terrible. Unfortunately, the neocon way has got a rebirth in Venezuela
Yeah.
and Cuba, and we have a Mark Rubio who Trump once called. Remember on stage, Kate? He called him Bubble Boy.
Uh-huh.
And yet Bubble Boy is calling the shots on behalf of all these international bankers. And now here's why I called. It's over this. I'm really standing with Judge Napolitano and to a large extent Candace Owens. We are in as Alex Jones even came around a little bit and said that why do we have foreign leaders threatening American journalists of such high standard as Tucker Carlson? They're actually literally at the Republican Jewish Committee meeting over the weekend, this past weekend. They threatened his life. They really did. And that was Jones' opinion of their verbiage. And I agree. I heard it. They're trying to get people to shut up. Mark Levin claims he speaks for MAGA and the rest of us that don't go for Israel first. It's time for at least a conversation is happening on a bigger scale than it ever has. And the Heritage Foundation, apparently they are, according to Steve Bannon, they are backing Tucker on this. Now, I don't know if that's going to be Heritage Foundation Kate wide, but it's a start. But we need to start and get her done and get it finished right away, because these people are going to take us to the depths of hell. They seem to be controlling every aspect of the Trump administration.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
You bet.
I'll address
you.
that. I'll address that. Thank you. I just, how to address that? Well, the media is very controlled. I'll say that. And we mustn't forget that the media is extremely controlled and will give you a lot of truth, but will also skew it. And then, of course, it's kind of like, okay, go back to the first clip that I played with Trump. Okay, so Trump was talking about the election, the elections too. And here we go. Let's see if I can play this.
She would know.
Oh, sorry, wrong clip. So here we go.
Your veteran.
Nope, wrong one. So I can't find it. All I want to say is, like, look, there's a lot of control. And then when he said elections, he said, "Well, I was let me see if this is it."
Erdogan of Turkey, and we've been friends for a long time, actually, even for 4 years when I was in exile unfairly, as it turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good.
It's kind of
way
an
to find out
interesting.
test of
It's an
friendship,
interesting. It's an interesting way to put it, for sure. I was in exile and then I was back in, and so it's interesting. But we must never forget that elections are stolen, and they have the software to do it, and media is completely infiltrated. So you have to keep all those things in mind whenever we're talking about politics as well. Okay, caller, go right ahead. You're on the show live.
Hey, Kate,
Hi.
welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
So from Idaho, we've got an attorney general and a secretary of state who constantly sends out messages prior to this election day telling us how our system is so perfect and there's no problems with it. And it's like, well, if there was no problems with it, why do you keep telling us there's no problems with it? I mean, that should be a red flag right there.
That is the truth. Oh my gosh. Great statement.
It's amazing how many people I talk in my business that think, oh no, they've audited and they've checked with everything and everything's hunky-dory. And I'm like, you people are clueless.
I know. It's like idiotic at this point. And they just want to believe so bad that they're willing to live a lie. They're willing to just go with the fakery and roll with it. It just makes me want to vomit as well. So
we had here in Meridian, I live in Meridian. So we have our city divided up into 6 districts now because we're large enough now that city councils in the district come. And so District 1, 4, and 5 are up for election. They ran unopposed, Kate. That's how people are so ignorant. There was nobody else opposed to one. So they gave them a referendum. Hey, what you're doing is a good job. Keep it up.
Gosh. And they're going to walk away thinking that. I see the worst mayors in my county. I see the worst city councils. And you're right. They do. They go, oh, that means to them that they're doing a good job, when you have to like literally vomit and then vote and then vomit again if you're actually going to go vote, because you have to just hold your nose and do it. Well, I mean, they haven't done a good job. And so just because they're nice and they show up doesn't mean zero. It means nothing. A monkey could show up. Are they standing for the Constitution? No. Ever? No.
That's right. No.
So
yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the head. Yeah.
Thank you. Really love
Thanks,
your phone
Kate.
call. Thank
Welcome
you so
back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Yes. And there's so many things to talk about with you guys too. And boy, there's just so much. So I'm going to transition a little bit because Dick Cheney makes me want to vomit. So I got to get off that subject. It's just gross. There's just the deep state as the deep state soldiers. They just, it's hard to stomach. So I wanted to talk about this for just a second, because I think this is vital to understand. So in the state of Utah, and California, the state of Utah is planning these large transformative camps. These they're using almost 16 acres near Salt Lake City, envisioned to provide 1,300 beds, shelter and forced treatment. Okay. Now, listen. So about 6 days ago, New York Times had this huge article about Trump and highlighting all of this and saying how amazing this was going to be. I'm sick. So I have to laugh or I cry. So that's why I have this reaction. But I saw this and it was like, are you serious? Are people actually wanting this? But yes, there are. And so there's a lot of critics though. And sometimes, like I said before, your leftists get on board for the wrong reason. Like usually they're just kind of misguided, wrong reason. They don't really understand the constitutional aspect of this. So what they're doing, and Gavin Newsom is wanting this really bad and wanting to really get this going on steroids. Now, think back to the CARES money. Think back to all of the money being placed into mental health, okay? And we kept thinking, why is this? Why is this sudden turn where government is completely preoccupied about this from 2015 on? What was the deal with that? So then you have COVID years, and then you have 2020. So then you have all of this coming out where the CARES money had all this money stowed for mental health facilities all over the country, and they started introducing those. Well, in my county, they introduced one, and it was, look, they're doing amazing. And they had a lunch, and they took all of these slimy politicians in my county. They're so slimy. Sorry, but they are. And they all took photo ops with the governor, and they're just like, oh, isn't this amazing? Not even questioning the ramifications of where this would lead to and why they were having this sudden investment, this sudden just zeal for putting these mental health facilities in. Okay. So your sheriffs, like we had a sheriff that was like, oh, this is amazing. It'll help so much without even understanding. He has no concept of the Constitution, our sheriff here. So I just thought, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. Then this was introduced, but because it's coming through Trump and not Dingaling or Hormala, then we are looking at praising it, and we're saying, oh my gosh, they're doing something proactive and this will help the homeless. No, 100% no. So Utah created this homelessness infectious disease assistant fund called HIDRAF, okay, to help address infectious diseases in settings of encampments and shelters. Okay. In this day and age, I just want to remind everybody that we have super good sanitation. We don't have an issue with rampant infectious disease unless it's planted there by our own government. Okay. So there's that. So they did this, okay, because you have to have reasons. You have to have a reason. Oh, they're infectious. They're dirty and infectious, right? The state passed bills, okay, HB 465, that increased the enforcement of homelessness, encampment clearing, and then, and of course, you know, all these implications for homeless, right? And then there was a strategic plan that was mentioned of sanctioned encampments, structured campsites for unsheltered individuals. Unsheltered is now what we're calling them. Whatever. Anyway, unsheltered. I feel bad for the homeless. I mean, sometimes they are kind of mental, but that doesn't mean that you put them in a facility and force treatment on them and they can't get out. This is where it turns hideously wrong. So they did this strategic plan, okay, of sanctioned encampments and of the unsheltered individuals in Utah as one of the tools being considered. And of course, now we are really in the throes of making this happen. And they're saying it's a shift away from housing first models, like at least, you know, like put a roof over their head. And so the government shouldn't be in the housing business either. I'm sorry. Do you know who? I'll give you a quiz. Who used to take care of the homeless and the people that had like low IQ or could not take care of themselves? Anybody? Anybody want to answer that? 435-680-2503. Okay, 2503. Who did that? Who took care of it? What did we do before the government came along with their strategic plans and their sanctioned encampments and their bills to address dirty, infectious people, right? That they claimed were dirty and infectious. Like, absolutely think about who and why. Like, how did we get to this place? Because government decided that, oh, Teddy Roosevelt, thank you, LB. This comment's coming in, the great unwashed. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah, never dreamed Utah would do that. And I'm sure they want to put all the homeless people in so-called camps, and they do. And Trump is praising it. And because Trump is praising it, there isn't a lot of outspoken individuals saying anything about it. There's just a lot of nothing. It just makes me sad. It makes me sad that people don't know enough to know that we are forming our own enslavement. You don't think this is going to turn on us? As soon as they turn mental health into what they're doing right now as sanctioning statements in the logs and the books of mental health associates, where they're saying that you have a disorder if you do not believe the government narrative. I did this show like 2 weeks ago where they coined the phrases. They said this is the new phrase. This is what it's all about, and it's beyond grotesque. Okay. So ICE, yeah, that's true. So ICE and the Alphabet crew are arresting the residentially challenged. Thank you for that statement. Residentially challenged, and putting them in these federal detention centers and in Memphis. Interesting. Okay, hi caller, welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to talk to you about
what?
elections
Oh,
politics.
Sure.
The fact of the matter is, we as people don't get out in the community, get to know the people that we hang out with, or select people from among us. So the deep state can literally arrange the candidates we choose from because we renounce that responsibility ourselves.
Yeah, they do.
It is really easy to go and file for an election, and it only takes a few $100s to get enough information out at the city and county levels to get in as a city and county level elected public servant. The first place we need to start is at the local level, replacing everyone in our town council with people that don't belong to a mafia, and we understand we can trust. And we also understand their constitution. Now, there are people that claim to understand their constitution, but haven't got a clue.
Okay.
We need to start teaching that avidly. So we've got citizens we can select from that can run competition with the Yaleys that keep on taking over our cities. In Branson, we did that, and we've got a pretty good city council now. And we also got in a good county commissioner in Cheney County. I ran for commissioner in Cheney County, Missouri. But there was another guy who actually picked up my trash who won the election. He had to shut down his trash company in order to do the job of the presiding commissioner. But he's done a good job so far. And he ran because he didn't want our community to go down the tubes like all these leftist communities. And we had someone running that election that was a Agenda 2030 stooge. So he got in place of that person, and he's been doing a very good job at keeping 2030 policies out of our community. What we as people need to do is we need to start stepping up, running for office, no matter whether we win or lose, because it's not losing. It's giving the people a choice for upcoming elections. If you didn't win this election, maybe in another election, when the guy that got the position, gets tired, you can replace him and give him a break.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So the main problem, okay, this is what I see elections being good for now, because unless we get back to paper ballots, they're fixed. Sorry. So that's kind of the result. So no matter how we want to do it, if we can get somebody good in, that will do better than the leftist that's in, that's hiding under a conservative mantra, or maybe they're just bold leftists. So you have those individuals that are squarely in the pit, want to move forward with any leftist agenda. Then you have the people hiding, okay, as conservatives. And we have a lot in our conservative area that are doing that. Well, what elections are good for is to bring up issues that people are suddenly interested in because it's an election year. So this is the time when people are actually the most interested to bring up the things that need to be talked about. I don't know if we're solving anything until we get with an actual person that's going to do anything when they get in. Until we have paper ballots, then we'll have an honest election again. And a lot of people overseeing that. Until that happens, it's fixed. Don't know what else to say about that. So it's nice to think we're getting somebody good in, and let's hope, but it's still fixed at the end of the day. And I hate saying that because I know that just punches a big hole in everything, right? But it's the truth. So we need to hear it. And we're not hearing it. All we hear is vote harder. So it's not working. Okay. So we have a big problem there, but that's really what elections are for, is to use that to get people's ears, to have them understand what's happening more. But but once the candidate goes in, it's like, they're not, once a candidate can promise everything. And then once they get in, you just won't see a lot happen. I see this happening a lot with people. They have the best of intentions. They get in and do nothing. They are a weak little, just, stamp yes on everything. They don't ever say anything about anything, and they just do their job. And then people go, well, they're nice. And they return my email and they show up to everything. Who cares if they show up to everything? Who cares? I don't care. I'd rather have somebody know the Constitution. But see, you'll never hear that comment about people running. You won't. All you'll hear is they show up, or they're nice, or they listen. That's it. Are they about the Constitution? See, you'll just never see or hear that comment. Nobody cares. They only care about the optics. They don't care about the meat. They don't care about the actual thing happening. So that's a huge, huge problem for us as a people that we have to get over. So the thing that elections are good for is bringing that up over and over again to try to penetrate that blind, this blind patriotism that we have, where it's like, and we're going to go vote in because we have a representative government. No, we don't. Not as long as the government has taken over your voting process. And that's that. Okay. So, constitutional defiance disorder. So let's go back to the medical camps, the homeless camps. So what happened was, like in California, let me kind of spell this out because you can kind of see how they do it. The Grants Pass versus Supreme Court back in 1990, a year ago, back in 2024, they were talking about how they did this anti-camping thing for the homeless. See, then you have a situation where what else is the homeless going to do? Because they are homeless. And then they come in with their decision, and the decision is, oh, here's a nice little camp. We can get them out of sight, out of mind, and then you won't have to deal with them. And because they're turning our cities into crap cities, because everywhere you turn, somebody's peeing on the sidewalk or pooping, or they're just, they're the homeless, right? So then they're everywhere. So you want to get them out and clean up a city and make sure a city looks cleaned up. The problem is that when you do that and you force them and they can't get out without a doctor's signature, then now we have just built our own encampments in America with a full-fledged, isn't this amazing and aren't we doing something great? That is not something great. If you don't think that's going to turn on us, and I know you guys are nodding your heads because you know it will. We are setting this up for the future to say that this is what we like, and then all of a sudden it's going to be turned on us, and we're going to say, yeah, but we didn't build those for us. We built it for the homeless. Oh, well, it just so happens they're already built. And it just so happens they had already been placing all of this terminology in the medical books to say that if you're a conservative, if you're a constitutionalist, if you want to keep reminding people that what we're seeing is a lot of theater, you now have a disorder. So you now need to be in the same camp, different ward, same camp. And then the doctor will finally release you when they feel it's okay. And guess what, folks? People will go along with that. They will. Because if you really look at what they've done, they've framed up this very big disinformation campaign, right? So you saw this really coming about in 2016. And they used the Trump becoming president to do this, okay? So this was their catalyst. And it was, let's start talking about disinformation. Let's start talking about bad info, okay? And fake news. That terminology wasn't a thing before that. It really wasn't. It didn't really hit home before that. Once it became Trump in his first presidency, then that was the catalyst. And they started framing up and soft serving us this new dialogue of fake news. And now the AI is coming in, right? And putting together clips. You don't know if what you're seeing is fake. You don't understand, it's very confusing for people. They're sharing fake clips all the time. I've been guilty of it a time or two. So what happens then is everybody goes, oh, this is huge. AI is confusing everybody. We got all this fake news. And so we need to shore this up, and we need to shore up the narrative even more. So let's stand behind the narrative. And then what happens is anyone that doesn't go along with that and actually, in their view, represents your fake news, then they have a total disorder. So they're putting it through the mill right now. They set it up on purpose, and that narrative, and that's why the media talks about it consistently, is to set up the narrative, and then they come in with the problem. And this is where we're at right now. So housing stability is framed as a consequence of health. So the idea is the unsheltered individuals, the homeless, are more likely to gain stable housing if they receive medical health. So first of all, you do unconstitutional housing paid for by tax dollars and printed money. Then what you do is you go, well, that's not enough. Okay. So now we need them to be stable in their housing. Okay. Some people don't want to live in a house, by the way. But now we need more, they have to be stable now. So now you have to have your behavioral medical help. So then if not, then they remain on the streets or in encampments, and then local officials treat it as a public safety or nuisance issue. And you'll see all the mayors and county officials coming out and saying, for your safety, for your public safety. It's all a lie, actually. It's all a lie. Once in a blue moon, you will have a problem with a homeless person doing something. But for the most part, you won't. So there is no public safety issue. There isn't. Okay. And it's interesting because for the last 50 years, we have the numbers don't change all that much considering the population growth. We're not seeing a huge amount of shifting towards the homeless, being homeless. It's kind of crazy, but go look at the numbers. You'll see what I'm saying. And you've got about 500,000 people that are homeless. Okay. So then what they're doing is they're steadily building this insanity. They're steadily building this. So what they're doing is they're phrasing it. They're saying that that people that don't have a housing alternative is detrimental, and they're also stating that housing is healthcare. So the municipalities across the country then are talking. This is how they're going to frame it. Bring people inside from tents and encampments for good. Increase access to mental health, right? Substance abuse, and all that's going to sound super fun and exciting. And then eliminate the encampments and promote long-term housing stability, okay? And enhance safety and hygiene. We all want them to be clean. And so for the neighbors, for the residents, for the business. So I think intentionally, they got it to be so bad that you needed a poop map when you went to San Francisco. And then it's so like, and then letting them camp out in places like Costa Mesa. They're all up and down the river, right? And in LA, they're everywhere. And you can't go to Portland. It's disgusting. I was there. Ugh. And so you have all of this allowance, so everyone sees, oh my gosh, this is on steroids. These cities and states are allowing this. Now we have to go into cleanup stage, but the cleanup stage is forced. That's how it's working. So now they're going to be public health hazards. Sanitation and health is you're going to hear your sheriffs, you're going to hear your counties, your commissioners, your mayors talk about public health all of a sudden. And you're going to say to yourself, or you should, well, why wasn't that a problem? Why weren't you saying this 10 years ago and 5 years ago? Because go look at the newspaper, go look at the online, okay, and go find anything that dictated that the homeless were the problem. Okay, or we're like this enormous safety issue. Okay, and there won't be, and no one will call them on it because they'll go, oh, it just must be getting worse. Oh, it just must be a problem. So this is how they're doing it right now, and doing it successfully. Then they'll pass anti-camping laws. So think about this for a second. You have a Democratic governor, okay, and Gavin Newsom, who puts forth we're going to hand out needles. We're not going to do anything. We're going to let it explode. And then you have the anti-camping laws come in to rectify that, right? And then now go a step further. That's how it works. The grants pass case. So in Boston, there are 60 new beds and an SUD clinic offering walk-in urgent care, medication, screening. Now, they can pretty much go in somewhere to a hospital or a care center and be cared for, okay? But now they're saying we're saving the day with the centers. So they have to build the centers. Well, you have to have a reason to build the center. You have to have a reason to do all this. This is what they've been doing. Doing this. And so the unsheltered individuals, right, they're going to say they face higher rates of serious health issues. Now, is that true? No. But they're going to say it. And providing medical intervention is relevant. They're going to say that too. And then jurisdictions are going to go about public spaces as being used for encampments, and because of the safety concerns, because of the residents and neighbors, okay? And then this combination is going to follow this narrative, and it's going to be, we'll help you medically, but you must participate in services, move into housing, comply with others, and sign your life away when you walk in, and then we have control over you because you're a mental health problem. Yep. And then once the person gets in and realizes they can't leave, they're going to be like, why did I sign myself in here? And some of them are going to be not signed in, but order of a doctor. Okay. And then when the doctor does it, nobody questions. So then the pure housing first is going to be kind of rolled away while this comes in. So you have all the required treatment, sobriety, behavior stuff. And these are the camps we'll be in. There's just no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that we're building our own camps, that we are facing in history the same exact thing that we all talk about, that we all look at, that we all go, oh my gosh, how did they let that happen? And this is exactly how they let it happen. Forced displacement is really what it's about. So it's so crazy to me that people can't see ahead to understand what we're supporting, what people are actually supporting. And my governor is a lot like Gruesome. So he's often compared to Gruesome Jr. and in Utah, and he's horrifying. He's a complete and total like thug as far as a leftist. I mean, he just is not a concern. He is not for the Constitution at all. And so he is hook, line, and sinker on board. He wants to be this example of what it looks like. And that's why I said Utah's so in trouble a while back, because it is. Utah's leading the way. So I'm very, very hard on Utah because on my own state, because I can't understand how good people who say they love America and the Constitution are getting behind this. I can't. And it's a Hotel California where you can check in, but you can't check out. Amen, brother. Yes, that's exactly what this is. So see it for what it is. I don't know. I wanted to kind of go through the steps though, because I think, like San Jose mayor unveils plan to arrest homeless residents who refuse shelter. This was March 6th of this year in the San Francisco Chronicle. Boston announces new plan to rid city of homeless encampment, get residents help. Okay. So you see it forming, you see it coming, and then they're applauded for doing something. And the something doesn't matter what they're doing. Think about that. We're doing something. No, you're not doing anything constitutional. So you can't get behind this no matter what. And to frame it as an issue, as a problem is just beyond. It's beyond. I don't even know what to say about that, because this has been coming. And when Hormala and Dingaling were out there selling the CARES money and treatment and, oh, we need more treatment, mental health. And I'm like, you're a mental health problem. We need to put you in there. not us, and so they said, well, we have to help with these centers, and all this money started getting laid out, all this money for the states to get rewarded by building these centers. So it is pretty grotesque, you guys. And if we don't start raising alarm bells, and not even alarm bells, but if we don't stop it, then we're responsible for this for our kids and grandkids. We're responsible. They'll point the finger at us. For sure. These involuntary detention facilities, because it's like a work conditioned housing. It's a secure residential placement facility without calling it that, because it's just, oh, that's where the homeless go to get better. Rainbows and lollipops. See, everything's great. And it's not great. It is not great. Davy Crockett speech. To Congress. It's not yours to give. Amen, brother. Thank you. And it is unexpected from Utah. I'm getting that comment a lot. It is unexpected, but expected, because if you knew our governor and you knew what he was capable of, and you know that how he got into office was a pure lie, then you understand why everyone's backing it, that even say that that they love America. I love America. I want to do the Pledge of Allegiance and I love America. Yet they'll stand by Utahns that will not stop their governor. And I'm talking about elected officials that will not stop their governor from parading around and doing all of this to people, because you have to read the writing on the wall, because he's not saying that at some point you will be the mental health problem and you will be in this camp and no one will be able to get you out. Instead of saying that, everyone goes, oh, isn't he great? Isn't he great? He's Gavin Newsom Jr. He's doing something. He's busy. If I hear a politician busy one more time, I'm going to scream. So that, which leads me to the whole SNAP benefit thing and the fact that we don't question 42 million Americans on food stamps. But okay. So then Trump was saying, well, he is going to keep the government shut down and he's not going to do emergency money for SNAP. And so they're definitely, there's something else at bay here. It is not normal. I mean, it's not normal. It's just, I can feel it. There's something else happening here that's pretty bizarre. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I'm sincerely sickened and disgusted that we can't see where this is headed, and the manipulation behind how they are trolling this and how they're getting this out, right? They're manipulating every single step along the way. So that's why I laugh at people that go, we don't have a deep state. Well, the deep state's awfully busy at doing things in certain steps to make them happen over time. What do you call that? What do you call that? A conspiracy. So they conspire to do steps to make something happen legally. They make it legal to then put you in a camp. If I had to peruse the news today, which I did, and if I had to tell you what the biggest issue of the day is, it's this. It isn't anything else. It's this. This is your biggest issue of the day. And I was laughing for Halloween. There was this big meme going around saying, give kids soup instead of candy because they're hungry. And I was just sitting there going, can we please ask why 42 million people are on government assistant food, please? Where's the big question that no one's asking or answering? I mean, come on. So this, not that, this is your biggest issue, is us saying that we're okay with this happening and that we're going to promote it. We're going to applaud it. We're going to say this is amazing. And it's so gross. So Utah Office of Homeless Services planning this large transformative, ooh, there's a good word, transformative campus. And they're calling it a campus. So it's like learning, like, so don't be bothered. They're learning to be clean. Okay. And this is envisioned to provide 1,300 beds, combining, of course, not just shelter, but treatment, mental health facilities, and employment. So just to give you another little feel-good statement, we're actually going to make sure they're employed. Now, they'll be employed inside the campus where they're not allowed to leave. But we call that employment, not forced labor. No, it's employment. And their checks are deposited in our accounts, and we give them like $5. It's all good. They have enough money. I mean, everything's paid for in Camp Rockefeller. Everything's paid for in Camp Rothschild. I love it. Oh, you guys, we're in trouble. This is the biggest issue today. I wish people would wake up to. So there's that. And I don't know what else to say about it other than after outlining the steps for you, the federal policy direction. This is all coming down from Trump, because if he says that this is how we're going, and no one will question because they want to support him, right? Because it makes it look like everyone's against him, media and people. So we want to rush to defend. Well, in the rush to defend, no one looks at actually what's happening. They just want to defend. Okay. So they've got us psychologically down to, they just know exactly how we're going to react. And I guarantee you, if Ding-a-ling they would have placed him in another term as a corpse, and he would have signed this with the Biden pen, the deep state would have signed this, people would have gone crazy. But because it's Trump, no one's going crazy. They're just going, something's being done. Doesn't even matter what the something is. It's just being done. So July 25th, 2025, he was very vocal about directing cities and states to crack down on homeless encampments, more individuals into treatment facilities, prioritizing this, and on all of these things. And that's how it works. So you move away from one narrative, you take in the other. Bigger plan, the step towards the bigger plan. And that's why they introduced this housing first idea. If somebody is okay mentally and doesn't want to be homeless, they cannot be homeless. So in this country, people all the time can help. Now, in answer to my big question, what did we do before the government came in? Well, that's easy. People did it, and the clergy did it. And they helped people, but they kept an eye on them, and they monitored what's going on. In my church, in the LDS church, they do like a 3-month where a local bishop will sort of watch your situation and help you and help you to understand if you were going to help you with food and housing, then a rent check or whatever, then this is going to be very temporary. We're going to keep an eye on the situation, and you're going to be held accountable as well for your situation. What are you doing to get better and get off of this assistance? And 3 months is about the most usually, not always, but usually they'll do. Well, this is how the clergy did it all the time. This is what they did. So, and they were able to keep track of people and hold people accountable. Now they make it so that once you get on, getting off is harder because you'll make more money staying on. Those 42 million Americans will actually make more money and actually be in a better circumstance with the federal assistance, which is our taxpayer money, not just federal assistance, but they will do better instead of working. It's an incentive not to work. It's an incentive not to pull your load. Oh, you guys, we're in trouble. Okay. So I just wanted to tie that up and make sure that people are understanding that not only is my state marching forward with this to be the beacon on the hill for encampments, calling them campuses nationwide, they are moving ahead with this too. And you'll start to see how the narrative plays out. Shore this up, take this down, shore up a bigger piece, take that down, shore up a bigger piece. And by the time we hit 2030, people will be introduced to their new home. And it will be in a remote area where you get to be in there forever without leaving because you are a problem, because you question, because you have a disorder called I don't believe anything the government says based on history and lots of years of lying. So there we are. Oh, sorry. That was a lot, wasn't it? That was a lot. The digital rollout, see, you can see this kind of coinciding with the digital rollout, can't you? So the Fed chief, that gray-haired Christine Lagarde, announced the digital euro, Europe's version of the central bank digital currency, the CBDC, is moving faster than planned, and that the EU Council has instructed the ECB to accelerate development so that the pilot phase begins in 2027, followed by a formal rollout across Europe in 2029. So we want cash to be in the form of digital euro. So the digital ID, the digital currency, the digital everything, right, is coming into play. Now, what this is saying is by 2029 in Europe. I don't know about the United States, but I will say that we are moving towards the digital age. And then if you don't love what the government's doing, you will not be able to access services in that digital realm. And the more you can't access and be part of society, you might just be headed toward an encampment that's already been built because good people were all behind it and staked a political career on doing something and being very busy. And this is how they rolled into office and stayed there, is because they were 100% behind all of the crazy. What do you say to this? What do you say to this? It's insane. And they're all good people. They're all good. Kate, quit talking about politicians. They're good people. They're just trying. They're just trying. They just happen to be behind every grotesque thing, but they're trying. Okay. Yeah, that's not true. Sorry. If you're really trying, then you're hated. Are any of them hated? Let me just do that bellwether test for you. Any of them hated? Not really. I mean, you have your leftists that are hated, but they stay in power. But what about on the right? Of course not. They're the nice person that shows up to work. So therefore, they're worth their salt. So I've seen it over and over, 15 years of analyzing what they do once in office, and it is hard to take. It is very hard to take. Yeah. So how long will it take for them to put up the re-education screens? Changing the look of debt. True. That's true too. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Good points. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Well, hey, Kate.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Go right ahead.
Good. I just think it's great that you're bringing up this massive encampment where the homeless now are going to be basically punished for being homeless, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be forced to be in this camp. And what's very interesting is that the state of Utah has selected a 28-year-old he is a police officer. So definitely this homeless czar that has now been put into place to replace the old homeless czar that did nothing but make things worse. He's all about, that's where you're getting this, they can't leave, right?
Yeah.
So that's the idea. The amazing part, though, is that the current Office of Homeless Services in Utah has been trying to install this for a number of years, and they've actually sat on a pot of money that's worth $25 million and not allowed that money to actually go to any other programs to actually help the homeless.
Yes,
so,
you're right.
They're keeping all of those dollars so that they can basically, get money off of the interest, yet they will refuse to fund, like, let's say you've got a domestic violence shelter that's got like 20 beds. They're doing good things. They can't get that money because the state of Utah will not allow them to do good.
Yes.
I mean,
You're
you
right.
know what I'm saying.
You're right.
So, but that's what just red flags to me. You're 28. Now you're going to be put over this entire program. This is massive.
Yes.
This is a massive camp. 1,300 people is when you've got mental health, when you've got substance abuse issues there, going in. You know, I get why he's a police officer looking to do this, but I just don't see. I don't see the benefit.
Well.
Any way, shape, or form from this idea that they've come up with.
There isn't a benefit because there wasn't a big issue to enact this. So they had to make the issue. Okay. They had to be very creative because, like I said, you can't pull anything out of the headlines. It's super disturbing. So what they're doing is creating this narrative, then solving their own problem, right? And here's where the leftists go wrong because people always want to, they're confused by what the leftists say, what people on the right say. The leftists, what they're doing, instead of saying who this will be for in the future, okay, they're saying it's a prison for them now. Okay, yes, except they don't even address the whole issue. So they don't address how it will grow and who will be part of this. They only talk about, well, this is a problem because it's a prison now. So what's going to happen is they're going to be showcasing the highlight reel from this, okay? So you're going to see homeless videos where the homeless are putting out testimonies saying, I got help in this center. It was amazing. Then the leftists are going to be deemed to look like they're not like they went way overboard. Still, no one talking about the real issue, which is who is part of this, who is going to be put in here against their will, because we've already set it up and legalized it.
Exactly. And again, what is it removing? It's removing agency.
Yes.
I understand that these individuals might have
a what? Sorry, you cut out. You cut out. A what? Have a what?
So these individuals have problems, right?
Sure.
So they've got different, and sometimes it's just that, you know, they got out of prison and no one will hire them.
Yes.
And they literally cannot be hired.
Yes.
That is their problem. It's not a substance abuse issue. It is not a mental health issue. It is a society issue that does not allow people to pay for the crime and then allow them to pay for the crime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So that being said, if somebody's down on their luck, let's say they have a divorce and they've got a child and they need some place to stay, they get put in here. Now all of a sudden they can't get out. What are we doing? We're taking away agency, and that is not the plan.
Nope, wasn't Christ's plan. I'll tell you that much. And they're just legalizing. They're legalizing encampments, and people want to say things about the Japanese being forced into encampments and things like that, thinking we're so much better today. No, we're not, because we're building it under this pretense. So we're not better. We're not any better. We haven't learned anything, I guess.
But we're refusing to build hospitals that will treat the severely disabled that they're going down the street and they're yelling literally at something that's not there.
Yeah.
We're going to be mean to those people and not try to get them the help that they need by building more mental hospitals.
Yes.
But we force people who may not have any problem whatsoever other than they're homeless to stay in this camp.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. And then also on the heels of how they're manipulating, how they're doing this, every time they talk about it in the press, they say Trump's vision for homelessness. Okay. Because then, number one, it makes our pretend conservative governor look like he is not like he's part of the conservative gang.
Yeah.
Then it also makes Gavin Newsom look like we're all in to help solve a problem of dignity and humanity, and there is no sides. So they're calling it Trump's vision so that conservatives don't think anything's wrong with it, and then they're making it look like we're all on board, because when it comes to human dignity, now we're all on the same page. I literally want to throw up right now because of what we're creating, but I don't know how to say it any other way, that this is how they're manipulating. So when you hear your local representative, your governor say these things, call them out as much as you possibly can, get people to understand what they're doing. Because even the leftists aren't painting the picture for people. They're usually sideways on just about everything, but I'm like, they're not even going to mention who's going to be in this camp. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I had to, because of the fact that people aren't talking about it. We are swayed into talking about so many other things. And, you know, today, just like when Bush died, Senior Papa Bush, Mr. New World Order, when he died, and boy, did he look creepy. Those last few years, those photographs were, anyway, he took on a whole creep level of gross. But anyway, I mean, it was eerie. But when I'm seeing the news and all they can talk about is painting these people as heroes, and whoever the deep state always gives the accolades, the bridges, the schools, the everything to these individuals. So that's how you know that you're dealing with a deep state person, is that they were all on board, and they're painted in history as the victors of history. And so when you see all of these things, just realize that that's how they honor, right? Because the world can only honor in a certain way. And that is, you do the deep state bidding, you get the library name, you get all of these things because you were part of our club. And this is their payback. So as sad as that is. And you won't have a lot of local politicians, a lot of mayors, a lot of people saying no to this. They're on board for their own career trajectory. So everyone's going to paint this as solving a problem, very busy. You know, it's funny. Like, remember the cartoons where they run and they're like running and the wheels are going like this, you know? That's what it reminds me of when I see politicians, because they go, I'm busy. Look how busy. I'm super busy. Busy means I'm working. Working means I'm doing what's right. I'm like, no, that doesn't equate. You're busy, but you're not doing things that are right. No, that doesn't equate to right. And so they go, I'm super busy. Look at me. Look at all the things I do. Okay. How about don't be busy? How about don't? And how about put up a poster and said, I didn't vote yes on anything, and I will not. How about that? Well, you won't get elected, but I mean, wouldn't that be nice to see? Especially right now at this time, on many cities and counties are having elections today. And busy is the key word. Busy in there. They show up and they're busy. Those words are terrifying to me when they say that about a politician, because I'm going, oh, well, you're doing the byline. You're doing what you're told is really what that's about, and you won't stand for anything. What I'd like to see is courage. I'd love to see courage and a backbone. I'd love to see somebody that consistently said no and was literally hated, okay, for it. I would love that. That would make me feel nice and cozy, because at least I knew somebody was standing up for us. But that's not happening, and you're going to see the cities applaud this. And if they realize that the people are seeing through it, though, you might, to save face, have some people that will not go along or might become vocal critics of it. One can only dream. One can only hope. So there you go. That's the only real thing that we have right now that could be going for us. So I know a lot of people get really angry when I say the elections are rigged. And why do I say that, and how do I know that, and everything else? Well, I give you history, and I give you the election results, and I give you, we only go in one direction for over 100 years. So do I have the proof on my side that these elections are completely stolen at this point, especially when we went digital? Yep. And when you think about the digital world, think about how much translates. So we keep talking about digital ID. Well, we have digital elections. Look where it's getting us. Yep. So they love digital. Deep state's been after the digital world, because it can be completely controlled. And if you say that, you're one of those people that needs to be put away in a home, because you don't go along. As sad and sick as that is. So look, what can we do? Make people aware. What can we do? We can see it. We can see how the game is played. That's why I went through the steps today. How do they manipulate? What do they say? Where do they go off? Where do they not mention, what's going to happen? And that's why I wanted to show the right and the left so that we can understand kind of how it's played, and then how it's desired, and then it's a feel-good measure, and then we're doing something, we're busy, we're solving problems, and it's made to look like we're succeeding, and we're not. We're not succeeding right now. So I leave you that lovely, sorry about that, this lovely problem, and place it squarely on your lap and say, what do we do? And we need to solve these things together, of course. But I'll be back with Susan and Melissa tomorrow. And I thank you. I thank you actually for listening in. And what's been getting me through stress-wise, Cardio Miracle. If you haven't signed up for that, if you're not taking that, and by the way, I'm just loving all your comments to me. Thank you for emailing me and letting me know. You guys are extraordinary. You're just like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. Cardio Miracle is amazing. It's really helping me. So get some Cardio Miracle and just try it. I was swinging it down this morning and going, I'm really grateful for this product. It's getting me through a lot of stress. And so thank you, and so cardiomiracle.com/Kate, and order it. It's money back guarantee, but you're going to love this. The nitric acid. It's really the best way to take in minerals is really what it is, because it's actually going to deliver those minerals. So we're all so depleted. And then of course, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Now there's a couple things to keep in a med bag, and there's things that you can order just in case, right? So just in case you would ever need them, I'm all for going natural. Just in case, have these things in your go bags, have these things in your home, because there'll come a time when you cannot get these things in your home. And I do mean that. So make sure you have a supply. And right now they have these 2-for-1 offers going on. They've got all kinds of things. This is the time. This is the month to do it, November. So by all means, take part in this, because at least have some things on hand. When we've had bad weather, these are the things that people had to have, right? Because medically, whether you are a natural person or not, there are people that need these things. And so it became kind of currency too. But please have these things on hand. There's things that you can have on hand for toothache, certain steroids that can take pain away. There's all kinds of different things that you can have that you don't have to get a doctor's script for, and it's sent literally to your door. So why would you not do that? Why would you not get a hold of those? So please do that. And allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, you'll get a discount. That's why I'm telling you about it. And of course, the mineralization of your teeth, go order that product. It's on the website, katedalleyradio.com. My Pillow has wonderful deals for Christmas. Cardio Miracle is a great Christmas present as well, because it's really going to help them. And that I know, because I take it and do it twice a day. It makes a difference. It's a deal. That's the deal. You got to take it twice a day to feel it. And then also just make sure you're okay, because not a lot of importance right now is on food prep or planning for what comes. And that's usually the insight of danger, because we're not prone to do that when we have a conservative president in, or, when we're told this is a conservative president. So therefore, don't worry about it. We're being taken care of. Oh yeah, we're being taken care of. We're being taken care of right in the loony bin is what we're being taken care of. But I just wanted to mention that too, because stock up, make sure you just have physical product in your home. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Also, I go to FIQ for my vitamin C and for all of that. And that is a fantastic place to go for your supplements, because they actually do a good job in the delivery system. That's why I like them. You can get different supplements. There's only a few companies I'd ever buy from, and FIQ is one of them. And you can do it with the link associated with this show, help the show out, but you can go get those supplements. But I would definitely stock up for this winter, and just make sure you have them. What can I say? Thanks so much, you guys. I'll be back tomorrow for sure. Be faithful, be fearless. And I'll get this up on podcast immediately, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. katedalleyradio.com.